manage these two holy mosques because it belongs to the Muslim Ummah. It doesn't belong to any country. It happens to be in Saudi Arabia, but it does not mean that it is entirely the right of Saudi Arabia to manage. It is obvious that it was genocide. We are divided. We don't have a single policy. Actually, we should go to help Gaza, but we seem to tolerate the Israeli action, genocide in Gaza. We have not done anything much beyond saying that we are against Israeli attack on Gaza, and we are divided. We are very weak, and we are obliged to support America, because all the money that we make, we lend to America. We buy dollar bonds. The aggressive nation in that area is Israel, not Iran. It is Israel which is attacking Gaza, attacking Lebanon, attacking Syria. Strangely, the countries in the Middle East, the monarchies, they seem to be doing well. But monarchies, absolute monarchies, are not democratic. So they should have a change of regime. But America is very friendly with these monarchies because they have the money. Because this may lead to a third world war. If they do that to Iran, it will cause a lot of anxiety by China, by Russia. And maybe they would try to stop it. And if they try to stop it, there will be a third world war. And I find that most of the things we are doing are not sanctioned by Islam.
Hello everyone and welcome to our channel. This is Dr. Hamza Al-Kinani and welcome to a very interesting interview today. I'm deeply honored to welcome Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, the former Prime Minister of Malaysia. Having him with me today is a huge privilege to share his insight and experience. Thank you so much, Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, for being with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mahathir Mohamad. I would like to start this show by this question regarding Gaza. You were among the earliest leaders to characterize the situation in Gaza as a genocide. In your viewpoint, what factors contribute to the relative silence or inaction of the broader Islamic world in response to this crisis, to this genocide? Furthermore, how do you assess the role and effectiveness of international organization in addressing or intervening in what has been described as a genocidal campaign?
It is obvious that it was genocide even before the World Court decided. You can see the Israelis killing people, not Hamas. The people they are killing are ordinary people, babies. Babies are being killed by Israel, and the numbers was increased. Israel claims that Hamas killed 1,400 Israelis, but we haven't seen any evidence of that. But what has happened, of course, is that in retaliation, the Israelis have killed 80,000 Gaza, and about less than 200,000 are wounded. It is a pitiful sight to see young boys and girls without arms. They lost their arms. Some have lost their legs. And what kind of future are they going to have if they survive? But now they are increasing the attack on Gaza. They have exchanged the prisoners, but Israel has remounted the attack on Gaza. I believe that the reason why Hamas captured some Israelis is because Israel has been arresting and detaining thousands of Palestinians. No trial, no charges, just detain them. Sometimes some of these people get sick and die, thousands of them. And there is no way for the Palestinians to get back these people. The only way is to exchange prisoners. But Palestine had no prisoners to exchange and get and free their prisoners, their detainees in Israel. So they captured some Israelis, and now they were in a position to have exchange of prisoners. That is why you see 2 or 3 Israelis are exchanged for 10 or even 100 Palestinians, because Palestinians have been detained by the Israelis for a long time, and that went on, and it should end up with a ceasefire, but not with Israel. Israel wanted to get back their people, but they want to kill and, if possible, force the evacuation of Gaza by the Palestinians. So now they are attacking even people who are starving, trying to get some food. They drop bombs and rockets on people who are obviously not terrorists, not Hamas, but ordinary people. Men, women, children, the sick, the poor, babies are all being killed by Israelis. That is genocide. The world should stop Israel. But Israel, of course, is backed by America, and America is supportive of the Israeli killing of Palestinians. So America is as guilty as Israel, even more guilty perhaps than Israel in the genocide being carried out in Gaza. And now it's spreading to Lebanon, to Syria, and maybe also, and I think they want to do the same. They are threatening to do what they do to Gaza. They want to do it against Iran. This is what we are seeing today. A big power carrying out genocidal attacks against other countries, and the world can do nothing. Otherwise, there will be a world war. This is what America would like to see, because if there is a world war, then they can make money selling weapons, as they did during the Second World War. The Second World War, they were making quite a lot of money. At the end of the World War, Germany was bankrupt, Japan was bankrupt, UK, the winner, was bankrupt, France was bankrupt. Who made money? US, because they have the money, they have the gun, and they are selling their weapons. The so-called Marshall Plan was in order to benefit from the ability of Europe to buy American products, including weapons, through the Marshall Plan.
You say world can do nothing, but what about the Islamic world? Why do Muslim majority countries continue to fall short in taking meaningful and unified action in the face of ongoing genocide in Gaza?
We are divided. We don't have a single policy. Actually, we should go to help Gaza, but we seem to tolerate the Israeli action, genocide in Gaza. We have not done anything much beyond saying that we are against Israeli attack on Gaza, and we are divided. We are very weak, and we are obliged to support America, because all the money that we make, we lend to America. We buy dollar bonds. When you buy dollar bonds, it means you are financing America. And what does America do with the money that they get? They produce weapons which they sell to attack. In many cases, Muslim countries are the target of the wars that are being. So Muslim countries should have a single attitude, policy towards this war that is caused by Israel. This is not a question of Jews or Christians or whatever. It is a question of genocide. Genocide by anybody should be stopped by the World Organization. Unfortunately, even if 195 countries in the UN decide that there should be a ceasefire, America cast the veto, and there is no ceasefire. Meaning to say that America supports genocide. That is what is happening. I mean, America is as guilty of genocide as Israel.
Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, let's talk about Iran. I would like to know your thoughts about the relationship between Iran and Israel, Iran and the United States, and also the crisis between Iran and Israel nowadays. Why is any Middle Eastern country seeking deterrent weapon like Iran treated as a threat, while Israel's nuclear arsenal is ignored under US protection?
Now, there has been a lot of action against Iran because they seem to be working to have some nuclear capacity. Now, Iran claims that they want the capacity for power, not to make bombs. But the West does not like Iran. As you know, the relation between Iran and America, for example, worsened when there was the revolution in Iran, and relationship during the time of the Shah of Iran terminated with a new relationship with an Islamic republic. So every effort seems to be made to stop Iran, to accuse Iran of trying to make bombs. But if you want Iran to stop doing anything that may result in producing a nuclear weapon, you should also stop Israel. The aggressive nation in that area is Israel, not Iran. It is Israel which is attacking Gaza, attacking Lebanon, attacking Syria, and it is a very unprincipled country that respects no international law. We should stop Israel, or at least Israel should not have a nuclear weapon as much as if you say Iran should not have a nuclear weapon. But this is very, very, very one-sided. Israel has the capacity to attack Iran, and America is behind Israel. And now America has told Iran that America does not want just a ceasefire. If they do not want just a ceasefire, what do they want? They want to destroy Iran completely. Maybe kill all the leaders of Iran. This is Trump's policy towards Iran. What has Iran done to America? Iran has attacked maybe Israel and tried to help Gaza, but that is a local problem, not an American problem. But America loves to go and provoke confrontations between countries. For example, they want China and Taiwan to be fighting each other. And the relationship between China and Taiwan is unique because China finds Taiwan useful. China can get the technologies from Taiwan, investment from Taiwan, even tourists from Taiwan. So they were comfortable with that relation, although they claim that Taiwan is a part of China. But they have taken no action. If they wanted to, they could have invaded Taiwan long ago when Taiwan was very weak, but they did not. But this is not satisfactory to America. So Pelosi went there. The speaker went there merely to provoke China. And sure enough, after Pelosi's visit to Taiwan, the tension between China and Taiwan increased, and Taiwan has to buy arms from America. This is very profitable to America. When there is war, when there is tension, they can sell their weapons. When there is peace, they make no money. So they don't like peace. They want war. So that is the policy of America, even in the case of Ukraine and Russia. America would like to see Ukraine fighting Russia, and they can make money selling weapons. That is the American policy. Invading Iraq. Actually, when Iraq and Iran fought each other, America was supplying arms to both sides. It's very profitable for America, this war. So America is provoking all kinds of, all the countries in the region, for example, to have regime change. When they have regime change, then the countries become destabilized, unstable. Strangely, the countries in the Middle East, the monarchies. They seem to be doing well, but monarchies, absolute monarchies, are not democratic. So they should have a change of regime. But America is very friendly with these monarchies because they have the money. And when they couldn't sell Boeing aircraft to China, they went to Saudi Arabia, to Qatar, to UAE to sell airplanes. The president was a salesman trying to sell airplanes to people. Of course, they want to sell airplanes to Malaysia also. I'm not the government of Malaysia. I don't know what they want to do. But the United States is supposed to negotiate with Iran over Iran's plans for acquisition of nuclear capability. It's not a negotiation. The United States demands that Iran stops everything. I mean, this is an independent country, and the United States negotiation amounts to saying that you do what I tell you or else. And or else is being shown now. It's almost like pointing a gun at you and telling you, you either accept what I tell you to do or I will shoot you. This is the situation that is happening. And now Trump has said he is not interested in a ceasefire. He wants something more than that. What is more than a ceasefire? Total surrender of Iran. But Iran is an independent country. What America is trying to do is to seize power, to undermine the independence of Iran. And I think Iran will not accept that. I'm sorry to say, but US is going to kill Iranians. The whole of Tehran had to be evacuated because already Trump has said that he is going to attack Tehran. So he advised the evacuation of Tehran. Why? Because he wants to destroy Tehran. He wants to destroy Iran. And that is the kind of negotiation that America believes in. That is why we are having a lot of problems, because this may lead to a third world war. If they do that to Iran, it will cause a lot of anxiety by China, by Russia, and maybe they would try to stop it. And if they try to stop it, there will be a third world war. In fact, the Europeans are waiting for that. Already they are preparing themselves. Britain, for example, is now building 5 new weapons factory. It is building 12 new attack submarines. Why are they doing this? It's because they expect a war. Why do they expect a war? It is because their policies, they know, would end up in a war. Their policies is to oppress weak countries, and they have chosen Iran as the target, and they are going to destroy Iran. And thousands of Iranians are going to be killed. And they said they will spare the life of Khomeini at the moment. When you say you spare the life of Khomeini at the moment, means that later on I will kill you. This is the kind of diplomacy that is carried out by Trump, threatening to kill people. What kind of leader is this? So that is a problem that we have to face now with a man who has no principle at all. He talks about deals, not about negotiation, about deals. I give you something if you give me something. And what I ask from you is what is good for me. If you don't accept, then maybe we will attack you. We will destroy you. That is a problem that is mounting now, and it will lead to a world war, a third world war, because the United Nations is not able to function at all. Even if 190 countries reject war, but a veto power by Trump would mean that the United Nations is quite helpless to decide. Although the United Nations was supposed to be set up in order to avoid wars, but actually the United Nations is set up in such a way with veto powers given to 5 countries, which makes it very undemocratic. And actually it doesn't represent the world. It represents the 5 powers, and above all, it represents American power.
Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, let's talk about the Kuala Lumpur Summit 2019. What was the goal of the Kuala Lumpur Summit 2019, which was attended by several Islamic countries? Can you tell me about its purpose and outcomes?
We find that many Muslim countries face problem with governance. But Malaysia is fortunate in that it has been very stable, except for one instance in 1969. But otherwise, Malaysia is stable and has managed to grow to the point where at one time we were called the Asian tiger. But we may have some experience about governance, which we can discuss with other countries also wishing to be stable and peaceful. Whatever we do, if it's worth copying, people are welcome, and we will learn from the other countries about how they manage their problem. So the KL Summit is not about war, it's about the governance of Muslim countries and how Muslim countries is actually the Muslims are the richest people in the world. Unfortunately, we don't use our money in the correct way. We are lending the money to America. All the money that we have goes towards buying dollar bonds. Buying dollar bonds means financing America. So we can use that money to solve many of the problems found in many Muslim countries. And the KL Summit, we can focus on that. And it is hoped that it will be followed up by a similar summit in another area involving countries that wish to develop well, peacefully, and with stability. We have the capacity, but we need to learn how to make use of our assets in order to grow our country.
Dr. Mahathir, let's turn now to South Asia, where India and Pakistan have had a long and tense relationship marked by conflict and mistrust. From a political point of view, how can the long conflict between India and Pakistan be explained in terms of how countries act, what they want, and the peace of the region? Can you talk to that, please?
India and Pakistan. Well, India and Pakistan are two separate nations. But India at times is very expansionist. For example, when India achieved independence, Hyderabad did not want to join India, but India took over Hyderabad. It also expanded into Goa, which was not part of the independence of India movement. So India is in a way expansionist. And it is never satisfied with the position of Kashmir. It was divided between India and Pakistan, and a certain portion is left to Kashmiri people to determine. But India has actually decided that India should take over that part of Kashmir. Of course, this is opposed by Pakistan. So there is now a tension between Pakistan and India because of India's acquisition of that part of Kashmir. This is going to cause a lot of tension into the future.
Prime Minister, I would like to ask you about NATO and its growing involvement in Eastern Europe, especially with what's happening in Ukraine and its impact on Russia. Looking back at why NATO was created and how its relationship with Russia has changed, especially with NATO moving closer to Russia's borders and the current war in Ukraine. My question is, how do you view NATO's goal? How do you see the Russian-Ukraine war as well?
my belief is that when the war ended, the Western Alliance formed NATO, and NATO is obviously against Russia, although Russia was his partner before, but they formed NATO to regard Russia as the new enemy. And when Russia disbanded the Warsaw Pact, NATO should also disband because now the threat has been reduced. But instead, NATO expanded its membership to include the former members of the Warsaw Pact. This is threatening to Russia. Russia tolerated it because Russia had been weakened by the Cold War. So Russia did not try to oppose NATO, excepting when Ukraine was persuaded by the NATO nations to join NATO. Now, Ukraine has got a long border with Russia. If Ukraine joins NATO, then Russia feels very much threatened. You may remember that when Russia wanted to place their rocket in Cuba, that was very much opposed by United States because it was too near United States. But now NATO is going to accept Ukraine, and this is opposed by Russia because Ukraine has a long border with Russia. So they keep on persuading Ukraine, but they did not accept Ukraine as a member. But Russia took a preemptive action by attacking Ukraine. Now, this is something that is very good for NATO because now there is going to be a war between Russia and Ukraine, and the war will cause Russia a lot of problem. For example, the cost of the war would be high. There would be sanctions placed against Russia. Its trade would be affected, and most of the Russian technology in war would be exposed in the Russian attack against Ukraine. So this Russian attack against Ukraine is beneficial to NATO, but NATO doesn't want to join in the war. But NATO wants Ukraine to fight Russia because when Ukraine fights Russia, it exposes Russia's capability, Russia's military strength, technology, etc. So now the NATO countries support Ukraine to keep on fighting against Russia because it would weaken Russia, impoverish Russia. So NATO would not want to join in the war, but would like to see Ukraine fight the war. So Ukraine now is totally destroyed by the war. Not the rest of the NATO countries. The NATO countries are safe, but Ukraine has been devastated by the Russian attack. And of course, Ukraine keeps on attacking Russia, and Russia keeps on attacking Ukraine. So the cost to Russia is very high, and Ukraine is actually the victim because now Ukraine knows it cannot win a war against Russia, but it will be totally destroyed if the war goes on. And now it is devastated, and it used to be a very rich country producing a lot of grain and a lot of raw materials. But now America says that the aid given by America is not free, that Ukraine must pay. Just imagine how an impoverished Ukraine needs to pay America. So poor Ukraine has been made a battleground so as to test the capacity of Russia, to weaken Russia, to create problems for Russia, and all at the expense of Ukraine. Yes, the NATO countries support Ukraine, but the NATO countries support with arms and money, but Ukraine is the battlefield. and you see the destruction of Ukraine is such that it will cost them trillions of dollars to rebuild. That is what has happened to Ukraine in the Russia-Ukraine war.
If you're seeking a space where intellect is valued, where deep, rational analysis meets global perspectives, you have found it. Explore the world's most important issues. Follow Dr. Hamza Alkinani to enrich the mind, not arouse emotions. Find him at Dr. HK88 on X, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
Prime Minister, I would like to talk to you about the Malaysian foreign policy. As you already know, Malaysia is located in a very sensitive area, the South China Sea, and also due to its proximity to Taiwan. How does Malaysia manage the situation in this region with its neighboring countries in particular and other countries in general?
We want to have good relation with all the countries in the world, regardless of their ideology. We are not in a position to correct the wrongdoings of countries. Countries like China, for example. All we can do is to talk to them, but we cannot go and stop them or send armed forces to stop them. We know we are weak. We know that we have a problem in Myanmar, but our policy is not to interfere in the internal affairs of country, but we do try to stop the expulsion of the Rohingya. But we do that through negotiation. We don't believe in violence. We don't believe in fighting a war against Myanmar in order to put a stop to the injustices perpetrated against the Rohingya. The Rohingya people have been forced to leave Myanmar. Some of them are in Malaysia, but we cannot accept all the Rohingya refugees. Other countries must share in giving asylum to the refugees. Many countries around. Of course, Bangladesh has been the nearest place for the Rohingyas to seek refuge in. And I think Bangladesh is bearing a very high cost for this. But the Rohingyas are also going to other countries, including to Indonesia. And I think just like in the case of Vietnam, the refugees from Vietnam eventually were resettled in developed countries. I think developed countries should also accept Rohingyas if they want to go there. They will contribute also to the economy of those countries, just like the Vietnamese are doing very well wherever they go. So that the problem is a world problem, not a Malaysian problem. We have to work together to help the Rohingya. And the best way is, of course, to persuade Myanmar that Rohingya people are people from the area in Myanmar. It was the British who ruled Myanmar as Burma, as one single country. But there are different tribes and different regions in Burma, and they are not Burmese. They are Karens and the like, but they have been there all this while. You cannot expel them. Of course, if they wish to, they can be a part of Myanmar. But if they find that they are a different people, we have to think about autonomy. Like in Indonesia, where some of the ethnic groups in Indonesia want to have freedom for themselves, not independence, but autonomy. And that can be that should be considered by Myanmar.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mahathir Mohamad. Prime Minister, I would like to ask you about Yemen. How do you view Yemen's political stance and support for Gaza, despite its own internal challenges?
Well, Yemen feels strongly about the genocide in Gaza. And although it is a weak country, it is trying to help Gaza. Of course, it can be smashed to pieces by America. And that is what America threatens to do. It is the big bully. Because you are powerful, you want to make use of your power to oppress people. That is oppression. As much as you are against governments which oppress their people, you should be against countries which oppress other countries. There is no reason why the Israelis should commit genocide against the Gaza people. The Gaza people have their right. This is their territory. Trying to force them to evacuate from Gaza and Gaza become part of Israel and to be developed by Israel is not a right of Israel. Israel is an illegal country because it was set up without consultation, without a plebiscite to find out whether the Palestinian people agree to have a part of Palestine being made Israel, being made into the state of Israel. So Malaysia has never recognized Israel because we regard it as illegal. In the case of Malaysia, whenever we want to accept new territory, there would be a plebiscite or a referendum, and commissions are set up to find out what is the wish of the people. If they agree, then we take action. If they don't agree, there is nothing we can do. But in the case of Palestine, the territory of Palestine was given to Israel without any regard for the right of the Palestinian people. On the top of it, they expelled the Palestinian people who became refugees, not compensated at all. Now they have lost their country, they have lost their property, etc. This is robbery. This is illegal. So we cannot recognize the state of Israel.
Prime Minister, here is a sensitive but important question. Some voices in the Muslim world have called for broader Islamic involvement in managing the two holy mosques. Do you see this as a fair proposal or as an interference in Saudi sovereignty?
With regard to the management, I think Saudi has got the money to manage holy mosques. They are welcome to that as long as it is open. To me, of course, some other countries might also be invited to manage these two holy mosques because it belongs to the Muslim Ummah. It doesn't belong to any country. It happens to be in Saudi Arabia, but it does not mean that it is entirely the right of Saudi Arabia to manage. The country is still Saudi Arabia, but the management of the two holy mosques, if other countries are invited to be on some kind of panel to see to the management of the holy mosque, I think that would be a good idea. But I have no complaint. The Saudis have been very open. They have done a lot of work to make pilgrimage more easily carried out by the Muslim Ummah.
Dear Prime Minister, at the end of this interview, I would like to ask you a final message to share with our viewers in the Arab and Islamic world watching this interview.
I find I'm not a Muslim scholar. I know Islam as a Muslim man, but I was interested in the teachings of Islam, which comes to us in the Arabic language. I don't speak Arabic. So I read the Quran, but I don't understand the Quran. And I feel we are missing something because the Quran is the word of Allah to the Muslim Ummah. So if you want to know what Islam is, we should go back to the... So I read the Quran in the language I understand, that is to say in Malay and in English. And I make comparison. And I find that most of the things we are doing are not sanctioned by Islam. We are doing wrong things. Sometimes we are doing the things that are forbidden by Islam. We don't go according to the teachings of Islam. For example, Islam forbids killing, but we are killing people, killing fellow Muslims, and that is forbidden. We are told that when we judge, you must judge with justice. Sometimes we judge, or most of the time we judge, not because of justice, but because of ethnic regions or some other excuses. We are not upholding the teachings of Islam. And many of the teachings of the Quran are ignored by us, and we go according to the leaders in Islam. Even though the leaders may be doing something that is against the teachings of Islam, we follow the leaders more than the religion. I think that if we go back to the teachings of Islam, which emphasizes that all Muslims are brothers and we live at peace with each other, and we carry out regimes that applies justice to everyone, inshallah, Muslims will be the most successful people in the world. And they were at one time. At one time they were. They were the people who set up modern civilization. Unfortunately, around the 15th century Hijrah, we find them, 15th century of Masihi, we discarded the knowledge that we used to pioneer before. We used to pioneer science, mathematics, astronomy, etc. But about the 15th century of the Christian era, we stopped studying those things because we want to concentrate on the teachings of Islam, which is very good. Only thing is that different teachers interpret Islam in different ways, and we become divided to the point where we now fight each other. So we are not following the teachings of Islam. So I think that we should go back to the Quran, because the Quran is the word of Allah, wahyu of Allah, and that represents the true teachings of Islam. Thank you.
At the end of our meeting with you, I would like to thank you, dear Prime Minister Dr. Mahathir Mohamad. It was my great honor to have you in my channel and my show. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your generosity. Thanks to you also, our dear followers. Until we meet again, here is Hamza Al-Kinani, to enrich the mind, not to arouse emotion.